If I could recommend just one proofreading strategy to students, for that matter to all writers, it would be to read your work aloud. When we're reading out loud, we have to slow down. Our brains are less likely to just fill in the blanks, and we're a bit more likely to see what's actually there and what ended up on the page. And lastly, of course, there's just a real value in hearing and almost tasting how your writing is flowing. So when you're reading out loud to proofread, I'm going to suggest a couple sort of style points. Imagine there is a podium in front of you, and you're not just reading, you are reciting. The way we speak when we're presenting is a bit more deliberate, it's careful. You can maybe even hear that I'm beginning to articulate slightly more. Next point for when you're reading aloud, and this will make more sense when we see it in practice in a second, is to think about how punctuation suggests pauses. When we pause in a sentence, it's because there is a piece of punctuation telling us to do so. So in a sentence, a comma will suggest a light pause. A semicolon, a colon, or an em dash might suggest sort of a medium pause, whereas an end stop or period suggests the fullest and most complete pause. Now, there are a bunch of very technical grammatical rules that dictate where and why we use commas, especially. I would argue that when you're reading out loud, it's more important to think about this pausing dynamic than it is the grammar rules. If you just remember to only pause if there's that piece of punctuation, and to add punctuation if you want that pause there, then you'll be in pretty good stead. Finally, in terms of the style that you bring to your reading aloud, do something to keep your place. Maybe when you were much younger, or maybe still now, if so, good for you. You would drag your finger along below the text while you're reading. That's great. I don't know why we ever stop doing that, frankly. It helps to focus your eye, limit the amount of text that your brain is trying to process all at once. Now we're going to just have a quick demonstration of how proofreading aloud can help you to spot and kind of like clock certain errors. Let's get started. Unicorn fandom has grown significantly in recent years, with a significant... I'm going to immediately stop myself because I noticed that significantly and significant didn't feel great. So as I look at this, I could say that unicorn fandom has grown significantly in recent years, with 37% more Canadians identifying as unicorn fans in 2021 than in 2011. Okay, I think that cutting the repetition of that word helps it just sound crisper. Despite this, verified sightings of unicorns has decreased. Ooh, something's going on there. Despite this verified sightings, that's not actually what I mean. What I mean is, despite this, verified sightings of unicorns, okay, has decreased. So what I can do to add that small pause is add a comma right there to make this a little introductory phrase. Despite this, verified sightings of unicorns has decreased. This one you may or may not hear, but I can hear that saying sightings has doesn't match up. So sightings have decreased would be what I want for that to align in terms of our noun and verb. All right, this explanation aligns with the scholarly consensus that belief is precondition for visual. So belief is not precondition, belief is a precondition. However, Huxley asserts that the literature's preoccupation with belief might impede academics' willingness to explore alternate explanations, such as Canada's unicorns might be reluctant to emerge due to record high production of maple syrup. Okay, I didn't take a big enough breath for that. I can read this sentence silently, When I read it aloud, I start to feel how it topples over itself. So I can't even get through this sentence. I know I need to break it up somewhere. So I'm going to start at the top and see where I can naturally break this sentence. However, Huxley asserts that the literature's preoccupation with belief might impede academics' willingness to explore alternate explanations. I would love for there to be a pause there, a proper pause. Another is food completion. Now, having read this very serious research paper, I know that it was actually food competition. Now, interestingly, my computer didn't catch that because there's nothing wrong with saying another is food completion. Grammatically, it's correct, but its meaning is wonky. Then we have our next sentence, maybe changes to winter snowfall, finally. All right, so as I read this aloud, other hypotheses exist too. One is air pollution. One other is food competition. Maybe changes to winter snowfall, finally. It's a lot of short, choppy sentences, isn't it? I might just sort of link these together since they're all examples. Instead of ending it there, let me just say other hypotheses include, and we have this idea of changes to winter snowfall. It's actually changes to air pollution, changes to food competition, and changes to winter snowfall. So let me move that changes up here. Of course, depending on the style guide you're using, your citations might look different. The present study seeks to gorge belief. Gorge belief. All right, again, my computer is not indicating anything is wrong with this because you could technically gorge belief. But what this study is aiming to do is gauge belief. So we can see that by reading aloud. I was able to catch things as varied as typos, using the incorrect words, inaccurate punctuation and pausing choices, overly long sentences, using too many short, choppy sentences, general rhythm of how the syntax is flowing. So repetition of words, all of these things. It was easier for me to catch them reading out loud than it would have been reading silently to myself.